Do you know how to repair a Scotts Turfbuilder Edgeguard DLX rotary broadcast spreader? Or as I like to call it, the deluxe model, which it isn't. In this video, I'll show you how it works and how to replace things like a broken chute cable, missing axle collars, and other parts Scotts doesn't offer in their effort to get you to just buy a new spreader. By the way, been there, tried the Scotts Elite spreader, you can see that video here, and returned it determined to fix my old tired DLX. Let's get into the anatomy of a Scotts spreader and go all MacGyver. Google that reference if you need to. Here's what's happening once you've filled the hopper. When you turn the dial to set the application rate, the back of the dial, which you'll notice is a cylinder that steps down along its outer rim, functions as a stop and therefore regulates how wide the chute door opens and in turn how much product flows through to this spinning impeller. On the highest setting, the chute door is at its widest. On the lowest setting, the door is barely open. Now let's look at the components that pull on the chute mechanism, which starts with this plastic handle. It's not great that Scotts chose rivets to attach the handle, since most folks don't have riveting tools and the rivets need to be drilled out without damaging the plastic. But luckily, the handle and spring aren't a common point of failure. When you squeeze the handle, you're pulling on the spring, which houses one end of a stiff 1.18 millimeter, or if I say it correctly, 1 1800th millimeter thick cable. They're soldered or perhaps welded on caps on both ends, and its full length is roughly 16 3/8 inches when measured from the tip of the caps. One end of the wire is secured inside the bottom of the spring by the cap, while the other end is inside this plastic part. Let's call it the chute cover, since it sits atop the chute mechanism. As you can see, my cable's broken, so I'm going to remove the chute cover by turning it counterclockwise. And the fact that there are no visible seams in this plastic would mean the cable was fed through the slot before the cap was soldered in place. To replace the cable, I'm going to use a 20-inch long piece of coated picture hanging wire. I believe it's rated for 50 pounds, and I'm hoping it's stainless steel since I wanted to use a thin coat hanger, but I was concerned it might rust. I'm going to just feed the wire up through the spring and wrap it around a flat washer M5, which I'm guessing isn't stainless steel, unfortunately, but given its spring and I need to apply lime, it is what it is for now. Pull the wire and washer through to the bottom of the spring. Get it as low as it'll go to where it won't slip under tension. Then I'm going to measure 15 inches, which was the original distance between the spring and the top of the plastic cover before the cable broke. Mark it. Feed the other end of the wire through the plastic cap and tie it off. Good to go. Should the plastic cap ever break, I'd probably replace it with a 3/4 inch to 1 1/8 inch stainless steel hose clamp. I use these things for everything. And of course, it's always a good idea to test calibration after any repair or adjustment by spreading a non-burning product to avoid damaging the lawn. Inside the chute mechanism, there's a heavy-duty spring that gets compressed when the chute door is open, and once the handle is released, the spring inside decompresses, closing the chute door. The spring could possibly get weak over time, but I've had this spreader for over 10 years and there's plenty of tension. I mean, it's never been a guillotine, but products with large prills are going to jam it either way. Happens with most spreaders. So when the chute door is open and product is free-flowing, like you're a trillionaire, thanks gravity and slanted hopper, it drops onto the impeller, which if you're walking propels the product using centrifugal force. I think that's what it's called. My physics brain is faded. Basically, product is thrown away from the axis of rotation. When you walk, this wheel here turns freely while the other engages the axle. To give you a look at the mechanics, let's take it apart. The wheels can be removed by squeezing the tabs surrounding the axle. Need to clear this. And then they can be shimmied off. Under the free spinning wheel, the axle is smooth and cylindrical, but on the opposite side, I'll show you once I get it off, These wings on the axle slot into the inner wheel hub. So as the wheel rotates, the axle rotates. And then as the axle rotates, these, I'll call them wings here in the center, engage the cogs of this gear, which in turn spins the hex-shaped shaft atop it, which, encompassed by this hex-shaped receptacle in the impeller, rotates the impeller. It's kind of like a game of mousetrap. The top of the impeller, also hex-shaped, fits into this well to spin the agitator in the hopper and keep the impeller turning on what I'd consider to be a very sloppy axis. Now at some point this spreader may have had plastic axle collars to stabilize the gear, similar to the Scotts Elite Spreader. So when I reassemble it, I'll use these 3/4 inch to 1 1/8 inch stainless steel hose clamps as axle collars. I may also take a wire brush to the axle and give it a coat of Rust-Oleum to prevent further deterioration. But as you can see, there are lots of plastic parts. Hey, at least they won't rust when I hose this thing down. Let's have a look at the edge guard since we're already down here. There's no need to remove it entirely, but as you can see, when the edge guard is engaged by the handle above, this 1.6 millimeter or 1 6/10 millimeter thick cable rotates the edge guard to prevent product from flying off the right side of the impeller into flower beds and sidewalks. And of course, right side being from the operator's perspective. I do know my left from my right. In addition, this piece of the edge guard reduces the opening of the chute so that less product is dispensed to the spinning impeller. Makes sense since you wouldn't want the same amount of product being applied while the edge guard's on. A common issue with these spreaders is the edge guard doesn't fully retract, and that's usually due to slack in the cable or bad connection. To remove the slack or even replace the cable, let's go up to the handle mechanism. We'll remove these hex-serrated flange nuts from the elevator bolts. And if you need to replace the elevator bolts, you could replace them with a 1 1/4 inch number 10-24 UNC screw, so 24 threads per inch. And if you lose one of these 3/8 inch flange nuts, a 3/8 inch -24 nut, or better, a number 10-24 stainless steel locking nut would work. So now that we got the handle off, you just pull the cable taut while holding the handle in the off position, and that should pull the edge guard into its proper off position. Then just reinstall the handle. Now if the cable is broken, replace it with any stiff wire or cable that's roughly 34 3/8 inches long, and that measurement includes the crimps. Like an old lawnmower or snowblower cable would be a good option as a replacement. To attach the cable inside the handle, you'll need to open it by gently prying the tab with a small flathead screwdriver, and then gently pry around the outside to pop these two tabs. 2 screwdrivers makes it easier, but you still want to go easy because the plastic is soft. Once you're in there, to crimp the ends of the cable, use needle nose pliers to make a 90-degree bend upwards 1/8 of an inch from the tip. Move in another 1/8 of an inch and bend the cable downwards 90 degrees. It's the same crimp on the other end as well. Then once everything's reassembled, the edge guard should open and close like this. And finally, if you want to replace this unnecessary foam around the handle, 3/4 inch foam pipe insulation will do the trick. Already has adhesive. Or you can just rip it off and wear gloves. All right, like, subscribe, and maybe in a future video I'll upgrade these plastic wheels to no flat tires. That'll be fun. And if you have ideas for repairing various failed parts, please share them with me in the comments section below. Let's make it a group effort. We can keep these things running for years. Thanks for watching. Workshop dance party.